Everybody good? All good? Thank you, Jen. At this time, I'll take a motion to close the executive session and to reopen the public meeting. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second trustee Golio, all in favor? Meeting will come to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and a prayer by Trustee Taylor. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, once again, it seems as though it's been a crazy few weeks. I don't have to remind everybody, and I sort of hate doing it, that we've had floods, storms, shootings, fires, and we've also had a divisive rhetoric both here in our country and abroad. So I'd like to take a moment of silence so that we can think about unity and what brings us all together rather than what divides us. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. That's a great way to start the evening. Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the magical world of Village Hall. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Tuesday, October 10, 2017. Good to see you all here tonight. We've got a couple of presentations that we're going to start off with here tonight, and that's pretty straightforward. Then, following the presentations, we're going to open a public hearing for the purpose of considering an application to amend the official village map regarding renaming a street. So we'll kind of talk about that when we get to that point of the public hearing. So if you are here and you want to speak to the issue regarding Livingston and the board's consideration of changing the name of that street, that would be the time to speak during that public hearing. And then after that, we'll go to courtesy of the floor. So if you got anything else that's on your mind or you'd like to speak to the board about, or any issues or ideas or questions or concerns, that will be the time to do it. You're recognized by the chair. Please come to the microphone there and try to speak clearly, your name and address for the record, and try to, if you can, keep your comments to 3 minutes. We really do appreciate that. And then we'll get to matters requiring action. So I'm going to start. I don't know. This has been the last couple of meetings. I don't know. We're on kind of like a legacy tour here, but we've been recognizing some really great people, and we're going to do it again tonight. And when I do that, typically I'm going to come down there and kind of get set up. So just bear with me a little bit as I move down there. And you do all notice, of course, how I'm walking, right? Yes. You notice anything here?
Looking very good.
Yeah.
Looking great.
Okay. That's okay. Bill?
No.
Jen, does that work? Okay. I've said a lot, and anybody can say this, that the strength of any community is directly correlated to the number of people that give back their time. And to that extent, we are a very, very strong community in Dobbs Ferry. We're lucky that a lot of people give their time in a really positive way. And giving your time as a trustee is a really big deal. You spend a lot of time with it, and we wanted to recognize someone who did a great job as a trustee and had to sort of, unfortunately, end her career a little early. But I'm speaking about Annalisa Corrales, who was a trustee. We're lucky to have as a trustee from 2015 to 2017. Due to the way kind of laws work and residential requirements as elected officials, Annalisa had to step down, and she's moved a little further north up the line, not too further north, I think up to Briarcliff, which is really just was a great opportunity for her family, where she sees herself going and her family going. So it was a positive move for her, and we recognize we didn't get a chance to say goodbye. Sometimes things happen quickly, so I wanted to make sure that we found some time for Annalisa to come back. And so Annalisa's back tonight, and we can formally and officially recognize the great work that she did and the contributions that she made. Annalisa, maybe if you could come up here, if you don't mind, and and join me. As I said, Annalisa served on the Board of Trustees from 2015 to 2017. During that time, she was a liaison to the Historic District Task Force. And that was a really important ad hoc committee that was set up some time ago. Interest to basically look at the concept and the idea of creating historical districts within the village. When we passed the village code back in 2010, incorporated in that code was the idea or the concept of having historical districts in certain areas, Belden Avenue, Clinton Avenue, and one other location. But we didn't take action on it then, but it was something that, you know, the drivers behind the new code and the work that had been done, it was something that, you know, was seen to be important, at least for some particular areas. So we took on that task, and Annalisa did a really, really great job helping to work that through. We actually passed legislation just before Annalisa left us just a few months ago, and this was a very big deal. So we did pass legislation which does allow the Board of Trustees to create historical districts. There's still a little bit of work that needs to be done in terms of establishing guidelines and some other parts of the process, but that was a very big deal. You know, tweaking the village code or changing the village code like that, and Annalisa was very much a part of that, and that's something I know this board was very, very proud to work on. Annalisa also served as liaison to the Parks and Recreation Commission. And that was a very big deal while she served on the board, because as many of you, as all of you really know, we've had some issues in the Recreation Department, particularly with the issue with the Embassy Community Center, which we lost due to long-standing structural problems with that building. We're going to hear more about that tonight and what's happening in the progress there. But we needed to take some really bold action, fast-track action to come up with a plan to correct that problem and to be able to deliver an embassy center that would suit the future needs of the village as quickly as we can. Of course, nothing happens quickly in government, municipal jobs, but in the meantime, also, we had to make arrangements for the recreation department's programs and all the senior programs to be done at other areas here in Village Hall, all around. The community has been incredible helping out, the library, Mercy College, the institutions, everyone's been incredible. Kendra's done an amazing job to kind of keep that all running. We haven't lost any speed, and really my point being that Annalisa really played a really, and I thank you for that, really supportive role in moving that project forward, because she understood, as we all did, the importance of that to the village. Well, of course, she served on the tree commission too, which is, you know, that's a big one. I also want to say that she took an active role in another very big thing that we did legislatively, was to recently pass legislation which made some modifications to the village code, really positive modifications. That we had ad hoc citizens committee involved, we had the planning board involved, the architecture review board. It was a long process of review over many, many years, and we initiated that, which was another really positive change to the village code going forward. That will be very, very positive. So you contribute a lot. We're here, and I want to say that this board, especially for the time I've been here, you know, we've been a very diverse board. Different parties, some, you know, both sides. Some people don't belong to any parties. We don't all agree on things direct, but we worked together and we got consensus, and you were part of the board, and I think you can be really proud of working and how we got things done, you know, taking the politics out in a nonpartisan way, bipartisan way, and really getting some meaningful stuff done. And you should feel proud to be part of it. You're a big part of that. So we're sorry to see you go, but we hope everything's going well so far for you. And I just want to read something to you and present something to you. And then you can talk, if you want. So, I think there might be some stuff there. Right here, man. Oh, those readers? They look a lot. Are those readers? Okay. Look okay? Look good?
Just like that.
So the Board of Trustees, the Village of Dobbs Ferry, awards this certificate of appreciation to Annalisa Corrales with grateful recognition on behalf of the Village of Dobbs Ferry for serving as a member of the Village Board of Trustees from 2015 to 2017 and trustee liaison to the Historic District Task Force, trustee liaison to the Parks and Recreation Commission, trustee liaison to the Tree Commission, trustee liaison to Historic Hudson River Towns, trustee liaison to the Rivertown Arts Council. In testimony hereof, the undersigned will fix their signatures. We've all signed this, Annalisa, and we want to present you as well with a nice little plaque.
Oh my gosh.
To take with you. And that's a pretty nice picture. And I'd like to thank Liz Rader, who does such a great job in putting these kind of things together. And well, there you go. So maybe we can get a picture. Well, why don't I turn the mic over to you, and if you want to say some things to the board, and congratulations. Thanks for your service to the village.
Mayor, I can't thank you enough for such a warm send-off, and I really want to thank all of the members of the board and staff, department heads, and everyone who has been such an amazing honor to work with the last couple of years. I'm also very sorry to have had to leave early before the end of my term. It's because Dobbs Ferry is such an amazing place to live that I actually had to leave because we were looking for a bigger house and we couldn't find one here, but we did find an opportunity to grow into a bigger space outside of Dobbs Ferry, and it was a very gut-wrenching decision. I have to say, we're all homesick still, very homesick, and my kids whimper a little bit for their friends, and I feel exactly what they're feeling. And when I come back and drive through Dobbs Ferry, I'm reminded of all the things that I really loved about being here. The best part about my experience in Dobbs Ferry was really getting to serve the village, because it made me feel like we all can work together to make this village what we want it to be. And that is really what I try to do with this board, and I think we work together really collaboratively, and I appreciate each and every one of you for letting me sound off ideas and for letting us really kind of think creatively sometimes about how we could approach different issues and learn more about issues that we were faced with, and getting to witness some really great acts of bravery that came before us from residents and police officers was, I think, one of the more fun parts of the job. There were some really good news nights. Of course, there were some bad news nights as well. But we all share in the ups and downs that this village experiences, and I think it made me feel so special to be part of all of that. So I really want to thank everyone. Thank you, Kendra, Garrison, and the Recreation Commission for being such a pleasure to work with on this, on so many different things. But I know the Embassy Center project is a big one tonight, and it continues to be a big project in the village, and I know you guys will do the best thing for the village moving forward. I'm sorry to talk on and on, but I just feel like... See? It's really a stickler. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that the people that work for this village, the staff, the volunteers, the board members, village administrator, the mayor, treasurer, and village attorney, and everyone, they do a lot more than everyone realizes, and it's truly selfless, some of the things that go on behind the scenes. So I really appreciate getting a chance to be able to witness that and be a part of it.
Congratulations. I'm always hard to see in this picture.
Did we get the board, and we'll just pull this up with the board line, so you can, we'll get this.
Get over here.
Everybody in there? Okay. Can we get that? Okay, that's great. Best of luck to you, Annalisa, and your family. Okay, moving on. So we now have a couple of presentations we're getting to. One is a presentation of the plan for the Embassy Community Center, and I think we have the architects, and George Palmer is here from Han Engineering, who's working very, very closely on this project. What we want to do is just have an update really for the benefit of the board and for the benefit of the public to kind of see where we are, where things stand. Still a great deal of work to be done. I think we have an announcement tonight on a groundbreaking ceremony, which is very, very exciting. So, you know, as usual, we're limited to time here, so if we can, you know, give us sort of the short version of where we are. I think you have some visuals as well, Richard, is that true?
I do.
Great. So if you could just introduce yourselves again. I know you've been here before, but
Okay, good evening, members of the board, mayor, members of the board, village administrator. My name is Richard Sorensen. I'm an architect at City League Architects, and we're working along with George Hahn Engineering, James Hahn Engineering, George Palmer, who's with me here. And so we'll give you a quick high-level overview of what we've been doing. Now, as you know, I'm sure everyone knows, but for the record, you know, there were some problems with the north wall in this building, structural problems, which have been corrected prior to us getting involved. And the village brought us on board to basically take the existing building, upgrade it, and expand it, which obviously has been taken for, I guess, approaching 2 years now. So as you know, the building was built in 1960. It was renovated in the late 90s and slightly expanded upon, I believe, just the front vestibule. As it exists today, there's a parking lot on the south side of the building, which we're going to incorporate in our expansion. This is the plan of the existing building as it is today. As you know, it's primarily one large multi-purpose auditorium gymnasium room. On the left side, there is one social room, a few offices, and a small kitchen, which serves the senior program, or at least used to serve the senior program in the village, senior lunch program. After meeting for, I'd say, 10 months now with the rec committee and the facilities committee, along with the village administrator and engineer, we've developed a plan, which we'll present to you now. On the main level of the building, there'll be 2 areas of expansion. On the south side of the building, the right side of the plan, which is a trapezoidal-shaped space, there will be one large social room, which we subdivide into 2 rooms by a movable partition. At the front of the building, the vestibule will be demolished and rebuilt and expanded to accommodate a front office for multiple employees, as well as a new vestibule. And very importantly, a walk-around corridor so that multiple events can take place at the same time. In other words, you could have one event happening in the large multi-purpose room, and then smaller activities and programs going on in the small room at the same time. The blue areas are the program areas. The green areas are the office areas. The red areas are the utility and support areas. So you'll see the kitchen has been expanded slightly from what's before, their existing before. Right? The restroom's been reconfigured and expanded for additional capacity. To the right of the restroom is a new senior lounge, a dedicated room for the seniors. And then 2 multi-purpose rooms to the right, 2 multi-purpose, what we call social rooms or program rooms. Downstairs at the front, underneath the addition, there will be basically new services coming in, a new electric service, a relocated water service, etc. So there'll be underground electric coming into the building rather than overhead as it is right now. And there'll be parking maintained underneath that second floor addition, or upper level addition. So underneath those 2 social rooms, they will be open, so that we don't lose the parking on site as it exists today. And this is a rendering of the front elevation of the building, showing both the new addition at the front and the south addition with the parking below. Okay. So where we are right now in the project is what we would call the design development phase. So we pretty much have the planning all down, it's set. developing materials, finishes, and some of the details inside, as well as working with the structural, mechanical, electrical engineers, et cetera, to design and detail the systems for the building.
Thank you, Richard. Any questions or comments from the board for Richard?
Yeah, how many people will be the maximum occupancy? Do you have any idea?
We do. I don't have that number in front of me, but we're well within the limit of the egress capacity of the building and the plumbing fixture capacity. So
Okay.
several hundred people.
Okay.
Several hundred.
George, Richard, thank you. Could you give for the benefit of the public and the board, just a quick update on sort of the mechanical and, electrical engineering work that's being done and how far along that is and what more needs to be done there?
Sure.
And then anything else, of course, you might want to add in terms of the process?
George Palmer, Engineering. We are about 90% of the way there with the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, as far as the renovation and the new addition. With regard to the foundations portion, which we've separated, we actually are in the process of starting that work and, as you know, starting the groundbreaking ceremony for starting the foundation. We broke it up that way so that we could we could continue the design elements, the windows, the paints, and the fixtures, while other work was going on, we could work through the winter. So we're trying to fast track the project as much as possible. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be starting the foundations work. The rest of the project, we hopefully will have out to bid within a month, and we'll be starting the rest of the project probably in January, February. So we're on the fastest, shortest time frame possible.
Great. Any comments or questions for George at all from the board? Larry? Yeah.
Just in terms of an expected completion date, I think people would be very interested to hear about that.
We've allotted a year, but it's all depending on contractor ability, workforces, material availability, and so forth. But that's the time frame that we've kind of earmarked.
Meaning a year from January or?
A year from January, a year from start. When it starts.
But you're going to try to speed that up a little bit, right, George?
We're going to encourage them to complete it as quickly as possible.
Of course, it takes time, and if it were a private sector job, it'd be a little bit different too, right? So there's challenges along with that, but I think the community is certainly, very interested in this project, will be interested in completion date, and I know it's important for the Recreation Department as well, so.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
George is giving a very conservative time frame.
I think so,
we
too.
We have managed to, yeah, and he's doing it for a purpose, because if there's something that happens, we need that extra cushion. But we both know that we're doing it as fast as we can.
Yeah, our foundation contractor, we've allotted 3 months, he thinks it's gonna be done in half that time. So we do put cushion into that to allow for unexpected conditions.
Okay, great. And I would just add, this is the epicenter of the village's community life in terms of the youth activities, in terms of the senior activities. And the design portion of this is being undertaken and considered other uses of this building, which would be generating positive rent or additional revenues, to be able to rent out a much nicer facility for corporate outings. And there's all kinds of things that have been thought about here. The kitchen will be upgraded. So it's really going to have a lot of multi-uses, and something that the village can really be proud of, is really going to be able to be proud of going forward, right? And that's really important. And I also want to mention this, the work of the architects, and George, the work you're doing. I know the engineers and the electricians are all top quality professionals. Charlene is putting a lot of time into it. Kendra, the Recreation Committee, we have a Facilities Committee that has been meeting every month, and sometimes more frequently than that, to work with the Recreation Committee or Commission to be there. So the community is really involved with this, and we certainly will take any persons to be heard. Anybody wants to comment about this, we'll take it, but it's really moving forward and very positively. The other thing I would mention is funding. The funding has been, there's a funding strategy that's essentially been executed. And that's going to be a combination of bonding for the great portion of it at favorable rates. And we've had a very close look at that. The Treasury Department has looked at that. We'll be talking about that. You have, the Budget Committee has been as well, and the Board of Trustees, as well as a significant amount of funds that we have in the Segregated Recreation Fund, which can be considered to be used as well. But we'll work with the board, will work with the Recreation Commission on that, and figuring out the right sort of mix of funding. So it's great that we have that flexibility. It's really good. So
I have a question. How many parking spots are there going to be?
I believe there's 5 now, and there'll be 5 when it's complete.
a good question on the parking. I think one thing just to add is that we're not talking about it tonight, but the new parking lot project in 99 Cedar Street is theoretically a real benefit to the Embassy Center too, in terms of overflow parking and things like that. But
I would just make a quick observation in conjunction with, Hartley, your comment about this being the epicenter of the village. I just want to recognize all the organizations and facilities that have pitched in, because there's so many important senior and youth programs that have traditionally been in the Embassy Center, but the library, the fire department, Mercy College, the schools have really stepped up so that we could keep those programs going during this period of time when the Embassy Center is down, and we can't wait till it's back.
We can't wait to complete it.
okay, great. Well, Richard, Sylvia, thank you very much for the work that you're doing and the presentation tonight. George, thank you. None of this could be happening without your professional involvement, and we appreciate how you're pushing it through, and everybody that's been involved with this. Look forward to more updates in the near future. Do you want to announce tonight?
I think, Mayor, you should.
Okay. So I think it's appropriate time to announce that, as George Palmer pointed out, there's sort of the two-phase, kind of a unique approach to this, but it's not so unique. It's the way things in the municipal world are kind of being done now, I think, more where you can actually start some of the construction work now while you're still in the design phase. And so the contract had been awarded for the foundation work, which needs to be done first. That's the starting point. As you said, it allows you to work during the winter to continue to complete the design phase and to move into that sometime earlier than you otherwise would be able to do it. So that's going to start very soon, and in recognition of that, the village is scheduling a groundbreaking ceremony for Friday, October 20, at the Embassy Center at 10 a.m. And invitations are going out to all of our state and county and local representatives, who some of whom are really playing a really important role in helping us, fund some portions of this, and who are good friends of Dobbs Ferry. Department heads, staff, the Recreation Commission, and you guys will be there, and the construction folks will be there, and of course we'd love to have as many of the residents as possible join and celebrate, which is really a great step, and everybody can take credit for this, and it's a positive moment. So we'll be putting some more information out about that, but we have an official groundbreaking ceremony scheduled for Friday, October 20 at 10 a.m.
We do, and we can't wait to start.
Great. Okay. Thanks, George. Okay, moving forward, the next presentation is, this will be a good one. Presentation on the village's financial report for fiscal year ending May 31, 2017 by Mr. Brendan Kennedy, who's here tonight. Mr. Kennedy represents, as a partner, the firm of BST Accounting. They are an accounting tax advisory firm that the village has retained. Actually, it's a relatively new relationship, right? So in a way, it's really good. We have a fresh set of eyes on the village's financial books and processes. And Mr. Kennedy, welcome. If you can just maybe introduce yourself. And I think Jeff had kind of given you an idea, sort of the amount of time we have available tonight.
He said because I'm new, I get about an hour.
No, he was mistaken.
Okay. Well, I do talk fast. Again, thank you for having me. My name is Brendan Kennedy. I'm part of BST. We really appreciate the opportunity to be of service to Dobbs Ferry. And as mentioned, this is our first year working with you, and I think you're going to find we have a very positive report that we're going to present to you this evening. The financial statements of the village is a long document. It's approximately 58 pages, front to back. That's been provided to you for your review. Hopefully you've had a chance to review that. Perhaps you canceled your Saturday night plans and moved back to that. With that said, what I'm going to work off is our required communications. That really summarizes the key results of our audit. It's commonly referred to as the SAS 114 letter. Again, it's our required communications. So we were engaged formally with our arrangement letter, which was dated December 8th, 2016. We were engaged to audit the financial statements of the village. The financial statements include 4 major governmental funds. It also includes your aggregate non-major funds and then a reconciliation to your government-wide. All told, when you combine also the LDC, there's 7 different opinions that go into the financial statements of the village. Because there's a different year-end for the LDC, that was audited by your predecessor auditors whom you relied upon. We focused our audit for the 531 statement on the governmental activities of the village. So in addition to executing a number of audit procedures over the village, we do evaluate your accounting policies and practices and determine them to be reasonable and appropriate. There was a couple of accounting standards that we adopted to be compliant with U.S. governmental accounting standards. One relates to fair value measurement and one relates to pension plans that don't meet the definition of a previous standard. Both were applicable for the village for the period ending 5/31/17. Both were successfully incorporated through the work with Jeff. And in summary, both of those statements really just added information to the footnotes and caused us to reclassify certain information that was already reported in the financial statements. There was no significant or unusual transactions that we encountered as part of our audit. One of the things we also do is go through management's significant accounting estimates, judgments, and estimates. We found those to be fair and appropriate in those contexts. This is kind of a very key point that I'll make here. There were no audit adjustments made to the trial balance as presented to us. That's very rare as an auditor that we're given a set of accounting records. We audit those records and we have no suggestions or alterations to those numbers. So that's something the village should be very proud of. That's something that does not happen very often. In addition to no audit adjustments, there were no uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management, and we're not aware of any other consultations with other accountants. There were no significant issues discussed. There were no significant difficulties encountered. We received full cooperation of everyone we dealt with, including the Treasury Department and the other departments that we encountered. There was no significant communication, and there was no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we looked to either. We did have one recommendation in the form of a management letter. It was really more of a revenue generation idea as it relates to some outstanding deposits that you had in trust agency funds. So that's a separate communication. So in addition to all of the communications I made and all the audit procedures we also do an analysis of the financial condition of the village, particularly your general fund, because that's the area that gets the most attention. We found that your general fund, in terms of the unassigned reserves, were adequate. The village is financially in good condition as it relates to your general fund and the other operating funds that you have. So the opinions issued by VST, again, those 7 opinion units are all unmodified. An unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance we can give you, the board, that the financial statements are free of material error. So that was a quick rundown. I know we had to keep it concise. If you have questions, please let me know. If you think of your question tomorrow, the next day, or the week after, just get a hold of Jeff and he'll put you in touch with me if you have any questions you might have.
Mr. Kennedy, thank you for that. I don't know, Jeff, if you want to add anything to that, but I do want to, I guess, say that your audited report is available or will be available on the village website. It will be. It's not up yet. Okay, so it will be, and it will be available here at Village Hall. So anybody that wants to come in and look at it, and I encourage you to come in and look at it very closely to do that. So that's an important part of this whole process and the transparency and that the village is always undertaking on these things. But so that we want to make sure everyone knows. And Jeff, would you like to add anything to the process or what Mr. Kennedy has said tonight as the treasurer?
I have nothing to add unless there's any
Okay.
questions.
Charlene, anything real quick to add? Or?
No questions really, but an observation, and Mayor, I think Jeff can speak to these if you want questions, you can have the questions, that when you first look at the audit, and it's a really nice, clean audit, and I thank Jeff very much for all his hard work on it. There may be some discrepancies from differing years. From the previous audit, it's seemingly that the revenues have gone down. However, if you take away the one-shot deals that you had, and that was Rivertown, you got an enormous amount of money that year, and you take away everything else, if you compare it from, I believe, 215, 216, 217, 218, you have a whole different picture. And I think the mayor can speak to that.
Yeah, well, I do want to comment on that, because I did go through the report in pretty good detail, and I had some questions for Jeff and Charlene. But I'd like to just see if any of the trustees have any particular questions or comments right now. Larry?
I don't have any questions, but I just make a comment that, Jeff, this is a job very well done. So we appreciate it.
I had to look at it. If you had to look at this and say you were grading a paper, what grade would you give the village's financial statements?
Well, I think some of the communications I made really substantiate a high mark. So no reported material weaknesses or deficiencies or control matters. There's maybe 2 out of my 40-ish clients that present me a trial balance that doesn't require adjustments. So I think that would put you in the top tier in terms of the record keeping and documentation that you maintain to support the financial statements. So sounds like an A.
Sounds like an A plus, but we'll take an A. We'll take an
You
A.
have to remember, auditors are not allowed to pay.
I know. No, I appreciate that. We do know that.
I usually don't have a good sense of humor either.
No, this is great.
I have faulty engineers.
And when we, Mr. Kennedy, we met many weeks ago, and you had your team in here, and one of the things that we were looking for is a fresh set of eyes. You kind of feel like over a period of time, the same auditor comes up giving you the same good news you want to hear every year.
Yeah.
But I was very clear to you that we wanted to hear maybe some things that we don't want to hear,
Yeah.
and Jeff was willing to really lay it on the line too, and say, yeah, we're open to criticism. What can we do better? And so you looked for things, and I think
I don't live here, so I'll tell you these things. One of the things we do is we do incorporate an element of unpredictability. We do look for the risk of fraud. We do look at certain transactions from a forensic standpoint. I'm going to want to make sure that your bidding processes. So if you're procuring services for construction, are you adhering to your organizational policy? Are you adhering to state law? So the comments and the observations are truly earned by the village. We attack the audit with not only making sure that the financial statements are free of material error, but we're going to want to see certain internal controls, particularly over disbursements and cash receipts. And so just going forward, that's great. We did a good job this year. Well, next year is a new year, and we're going to want to look at different areas. Perhaps there's things we didn't focus on this year because it was a first-year audit that we're going to incorporate into next year's audit. So one of the things that I specifically like to do is incorporate that unpredictability and look at something different every year. So look at something that may not be material per se from a financial reporting perspective, but it could be of importance to the village. So it was a pretty detailed audit. I mean, we do things differently, I've been told, than your predecessor auditor. We have different approaches, different focuses. So the results were simply not for lack of effort. We did a robust audit. We went through things at a fairly granular level, so we were satisfied with the records.
great. And I just wanted to add one thing, which Charlene was mentioning, because it caught my attention right off the bat when I looked at it. And I've talked a lot about revenues and a lot of the initiatives that have been undertaken over the last 7.5, 8 years. We've really been focusing on revenues, and people have heard me say this before, and they know, and a lot of that does have to do with redevelopment projects and just looking at the tax exempts and how we can get more. And it's incredible what that picture looks like. But what I saw was you were sort of the auditing, 17, which was most recently ended, fiscal 17 calendar year to fiscal 16. And I called Jeff in a panic, what the heck's going on? All the revenue numbers are down. And so I looked at that, and so we looked at the numbers very closely, and while the revenue numbers were down 17 versus 16, and somebody could look at that and say, oh, look, that revenue story doesn't hold, any weight anymore. Well, it does, because 2016 was a record blowout year for the village in terms of revenues. Just to folks that are here and listening, in 2015, the village's revenues were approximately $16.2 million of revenues that we take in, and that's property taxes and redevelopment permits, fees, state aid, federal aid, interfund transfers, but it's basically your total revenue picture. 16.2 million. In 2016 fiscal, it was 17.7 million, of which $850,000 was Rivertown Square. 240,000 was, if you all might remember that we had a fairly big delinquent tax issue back then, and we took an initiative to correct that. Well, guess what? We did that in 16 and 17. We got $240,000 of additional income because of that initiative. And 2016 was a huge real estate year here in Dobbs Ferry. The mortgage tax went up an additional $50,000 year on year, which is big. So you had some extraordinary items that hit in 2017. And then in 2016, and then in 2017, the revenues were 16.8 million. So, all right, that looks like a pretty significant drop from 2016, the year before, which it was, but it's still up $600,000 from 2015. So if you take out all those extraordinary items in 2016, you see a very clear trend here in that revenues for 2015, 16.2, adjusted revenues taking out all the extraordinary items in 2016, 16.6, and in this most current ended fiscal year, $17 million. So you've got a very good revenue trend here, very, very healthy. And I think that obviously contributes to a good score on the financial statements, and we're really happy about that. So I know optically people will look at that, but I think when you really dig deep, you go deeper into these numbers, and we're going to issue some more reports about this and what redevelopment has meant to this village. Those are really significant. So I want to also thank, as Larry has done here, our treasurer, Jeff Trudeau, who you've gotten to know. Jeff, you've done an incredible job. Things weren't perfect when you got here, and they're not perfect today, but you've really, really cleaned some things up, and this is a great report card, no matter how you want to cut it, and people will try. Good luck, but it's really, really solid. Great work. Charlene, great work. All the village board, it takes this very, very seriously. We initiated a total change in 2009, how we approached the budget. That was one of the big issues then. We've done it. I also want to thank the Citizens Budget Committee. Really, really helpful. Bob McLaughlin, tremendous job. You've been a big part of this. And, that's not something that every village embraces. Having, an ad hoc Citizens Committee come in and really sort of get their nose in the tent. But we've done that, and we've done it really well. It's been very, very helpful. So it's been a collective effort. A lot of people can take a lot of pride, and a lot of thanks to go around in this great report. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. And Mr. Kenny, thank you very much for your work. We appreciate it. We look forward to getting the final versions, and Jeff will get this posted on the website as quickly as possible. And I really want to encourage everybody to go out there. It's really important. Go out there and take a look and look at the work and know how much work is going into this, how strong your village is financially. It's really a great story, and a lot of good people to thank for that. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Nice job, Jeff.
Okay, moving on. Now we're going to move to a public hearing. And this, just as background, is a public hearing for the purpose of consideration of an application to amend the village map, renaming Livingstone Street to or as Stone Street. So I need to take a motion first to open this public hearing. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Cassell, discussion, all in favor? Okay, so this public hearing is open. Just a little bit of background, I might ask somebody to help me out with this, but essentially this has come about kicked this around for a little while. As most of you know, there are two streets in Dobbs Ferry. One is, that kind of sound a little bit similar if you don't know Dobbs Ferry really. One is Livingstone Street, which is down at Chauncey Square in the Rivertown's Square project area. It runs parallel to the Sawmill River Parkway between Danforth and Lawrence Street, okay? Just for some geographic perspective there. And then we have Livingston Street, which, man, I see some people here that live on Livingston
Mayor,
Street out there.
I think that Livingstone is between Ogden and Stanley.
No,
No.
no, no, it's Danforth and Lawrence.
And Ogden,
Right.
Ogden is there.
Oh, it's Ogden when it comes down.
Oh, it
Okay,
comes
okay,
down. Oh,
right,
okay.
okay, got it.
They're both avenues.
And their avenues, thank you. That's why we're having this public hearing, making sure that everything is presented properly. We've gotten some reports that now that, you know, Rivertown Square is more active and there's a lot more activity going on down there. I guess we're starting to hear some reports and some issues with deliveries going to the wrong streets. And so this is how it was originally brought to our attention. So we've had some people look at this. We're going to talk about it tonight. I think this is something that the planning board looked at, and they looked at that, right?
They did.
And we asked them to, so they've come back with a recommendation they feel sounds like a good idea to make the change. But we've also heard from other people that don't feel that it's a good idea to make the change. Some of the businesses that are down at Rivertown Square we've heard from some of them. And we've also heard, I think, just some opinions about, you know, if it's a good idea or a bad idea. The Historical Society sent us a letter. They were a little concerned about it as well. So anyway, we can hear from anybody who's here tonight, and I'll let any other trustees fill in. Nicole, you got an issue? Or?
No,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
We did get a letter from the Historical Society.
No, I'm sorry.
So anyway, let me, did I explain that well enough? Are we good enough to go here? Okay, so that's really the issue. So happy to take some public comment right now on this.
Hello. My name's Karina Ream. I live at 30 Livingston Avenue without the E. And this has been an ongoing concern for many people and basically everyone on our street for some period of time. Things, as you mentioned, have become more frequent as the businesses have moved into Rivertown Square. And it really, unless you're living on the street or know someone who's trying to go to either of those avenues, you may not be aware of the situation. But let me assure you, this is a daily disruption to the lives of people who live on our street, in addition to, you know, delivery trucks that are coming to the wrong locations, and it creates a lot of confusion, and I think undue confusion, and I think it would really behoove the village to make this change to the street name. I am a bit surprised that you indicate that people who have businesses at Livingstone Avenue, which would be the businesses in Chauncey Square, I guess Chauncey Square Park or Chauncey Square Building. Anyway, I personally petitioned each of the business owners there, and they were all in favor of having the name change. I personally petitioned 2/3 of our street of Livingston Avenue, and I didn't get to everyone because people, you know, have different schedules, and I have 3 small children, so I did what I could. But everyone on the street has indicated that they've had negative experiences with the confusing names. Also, I've talked to various village employees who feel that, then, you know, I can't particularly quote them, but they definitely feel like the names are too confusing and cause chaos and confusion for, you know, people trying to go about the business of the village and they end up in the wrong location inadvertently. So, if I could speak for everybody on my street, I would say we strongly support the name change, and, you know, I have submitted some information in packets to help facilitate or help with the understanding of why this is a very important undertaking that we feel the village would could help with.
Thanks for those comments, and I do want to just, confirm that we are in receipt of your petitions.
Thank you.
They're part of the packet here, and if I want to stand corrected, we did get a pretty strongly worded letter from the developer of Rivertown Square, which this goes back, and now maybe since that time, they've heard from some of the businesses, and there's a little different communication coming back now. So, but that's all good, so just wanted to confirm that we are in receipt of your petition. So that was great. Thanks for that information. AJ, yeah.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. AJ Dobbs, 38 Livingston Avenue. I just wanted to add full support to what Karina said. And I think she forgot something very, very important that happened 2 days ago, that she actually rang my doorbell. There was an EMS vehicle that was on Livingston Avenue in front of my house, in front of my driveway. And Karina happened to notice it. I'm surprised you forgot this. And she went out to the vehicle after it had been parked there for several minutes with its lights on, and the siren came down the street. There was apparently an emergency at Livingstone, and the EMS worker was sitting on Livingstone Avenue in front of my house. Karina came out, directed them to Livingstone, and the vehicle took off with the lights and the siren blaring. Obviously, if the emergency services in town are having a problem, it could be catastrophic. We don't know what happened. She rang my doorbell, not hysterical, but very excited, and said, you see, this continues to happen all the time. And I just wanted to add that we have 18-wheelers that are parked on our street at 7 a.m. with deliveries, with their motors running for 20, 30, 40 minutes trying to figure out where they're delivering their goods. They're supposed to be going to Livingston. I can't tell you how many frantic people I've had stop me on the weekends when I'm gardening because they're late for their massages over at the spa. And I know everyone on my street has experienced this. My neighbor received 44 huge boxes from UPS the other day that were left on their front step and in front of their house. And they were out of town and it rained. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but packages weren't for them. They were for someone in Livingstone. And the last thing I'd like to say is my neighbor across the street, they have the key to my house, I have the key to their house. And they travel quite a bit, as we fortunately were able to. And they always say we're expecting a package, so forth and so on. And I always get the packages, they get ours when we're away. They were gone for 10 days, and they had 23 packages delivered to their house. Not one was for them, but it was delivered to their address. So I just left them there. It's not my business to clean up for other businesses. And when they came home, of course, they were furious, and they called UPS, they called Federal Express, they called DHL, and said, you have 24 hours to pick them up, or I'm going to dispose of them. So it's just a true nuisance to the residents. And the traffic, the trucks, we have a lot of kids on the street, a lot of seniors, a lot of people walking their dogs. I think that would be a travesty if this wasn't adopted. And I also think that the benefit will be not only to us as residents on Livingston, but I think to the businesses, I think that they'll find their customers will have less confusion. And oftentimes, the delivery people say, well, I put in Livingstone, and then they realize they forgot the E. Well, anyone can do that, it's human, but it's so close, and it's really a nuisance. And the final thing is with the traffic, in the morning with the cars going to the train, and the cars and the buses, it's really overwhelming. So I thank you very much for your consideration, and we hope. Also, I just wanted to say that we did discuss this, and I did send out, or we sent out to all the residents on the street that we had their email addresses available, and every single person that I sent it out to responded saying, please go to the meeting. This would be great if it could be done. So your support would be appreciated. Thank you for your time as always.
AJ, thank you very much for those comments, that perspective. Thank you. Annalisa. Okay.
My neighbors at 8 Livingston, and I was formerly at 12 Livingston, are expecting a baby today, and they could not be here, but I did talk to them about this issue at one point, and they very much support this. And I would just say, from experience, 10 years ago, when I moved to Dobbsbury, our moving truck got lost on Livingstone and didn't make it to our house for quite a long time, but at the time, Google Maps actually had the one with the E and the one without the E reversed, which just further compounded it. And I don't know, the other thing, I just don't know if you're aware, there's a Livingston Manor in Dobbsbury as well. So between the three of them, there still may be confusion between Livingston Manor and Livingston Avenue after this, which is doable. But I think between the three of them, it's even more confusing, and I completely concur with all of the examples that have been brought up. It was a daily occurrence over 10 years where I would get stopped asking, with people asking for directions to Livingstone, so I can back you all up on that.
Thank you, Annalisa. Anybody else care to comment on this item? Yes, Lee. And we have one more, ma'am? Okay, great.
Good evening, Ollie, Constantine, Stanley. Just want to say some comments. I want to say that whether there is opposition, favoritism, or impartialness for the proposed name change, the following comments and questions should be analyzed and considered. Businesses are still new, unknown, and unestablished on Livingstone, therefore causing some of the previously mentioned misdirected deliveries. The resident of 30 Livingston declared that when patrons are driving on Livingston trying to locate the theater, she directs them to type in New York Sports Club and they will get right to it. Perhaps that is because the club has been long established. I typed in 30 Livingston and 30 Livingstone, and the directions were precise to each location. I typed in iPick Theater with no address, and that was also precise to the location with the ending address, precisely 1 Livingstone. I typed in 29 Livingston and 29 Livingstone, and those were also precise to each location. What are the specific problems with the address parcels? Is it misspellings? Is it drivers assuming it's that? I think we need to analyze all of the letters and parcels and decide where the issues lie. And how many residents on Livingstone find it problematic, and what are the burdens and or harms done by the deliveries? A resident of 30 Livingston declared that the Postal Service has to deliver to the address on the parcel even if they know it is wrong. However, I spoke to a carrier who stated, quote, "If we know the name of the person or business on that parcel, we will deliver it to them even if the address is wrong. It is done all the time, especially in small towns," end quote. Delivery errors are common all the time, everywhere, and that is part of the territory. It is up to the sender and the carriers to practice accuracy. If there are clerical errors, they can be corrected, and department heads of senders can be notified of the misdirects and issues. One suggestion would be for businesses to indicate on their address line Chauncey Square or Rivertown Square. If the street is changed, changes will have to be made to internet maps, web listings, directories, advertisements, business documents, legal documents, and many others. This could be a lengthy and costly process for many entities. Have those burdens for businesses been analyzed? Even if the street is changed, the desired effects may not be reached in the near future. In fact, further problems could arise whereby New York sports patrons will be heading to Livingston if Livingstone is eliminated. For the reasons that some patrons and deliveries are headed to Livingston, they could do the same for the new street. If Livingstone is eliminated and if senders have not updated their records, senders will continue to write Livingstone, and then the carriers could assume it is a misspelling and send it to Livingston anyway, hence posing additional misdirects. Once businesses are established, in all likelihood, some of the problems will be resolved because Postal Service, UPS, regular freight companies will become familiar with the businesses. Since the complex is still undergoing construction, that portion of the problem will be alleviated once that is through, since those have been contributing to the problems as well. It would be prudent to wait for the entire complex to open to determine what transpires. Has Chauncey Square weighed in on it? What could be their burdens? What about missed deliveries to those long-established businesses located there, and perhaps having them go to Livingston if Livingstone is eliminated, thereby causing more mail than ever to be delivered to Livingstone?
Lee, I think kind of run over, I let you go here pretty long. Can you finish up?
Others have to.
Sorry?
I think others have to.
Are you almost done?
Yes.
Can you wrap it up? Thank you very much.
The resident indicated she didn't know if her mail was being misdirected. So it would be reasonable to ask if any businesses on Livingstone have received mail from the other street. Since there are other municipalities that have similar street names, including streets in Dobbsbury, besides Livingston, such as Ogden Avenue versus Ogden Place, Chestnut Street versus Chestnut Ridgeway, Hudson Drive versus Hudson Terrace, have any issues arisen from them, and if so, what are they, and have they been resolved, or they are ongoing? The board has made the statement that since Rivertowns is new, it is easier to change that street. However, Chauncey Square has been there for 10 years with long-established businesses. It may be easier to change some residential house numbers instead of the street, or change the number on proposed Rivertown stores. There are many aspects of the proposal to consider, but the most important ones are, will the change create more issues, and will it cause burdens to any party? I know also there was a call by the mayor to provide ideas for a possible new name, should it be voted to be changed. I see there a proposal for Stone Street. Is that etched in stone, or can people weigh in on ideas? If that's the case, I think the name should be changed to an appropriate name would be Gilardi Street, to honor the chief's long service and significant contribution to Dobbsbury as being the village with the first female chief as well as the counties. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. I'm going to let somebody else go, and then, yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Annie Klein. I'm an associate at Delbello, Donnelly, Winder, and Weiss & Whitaker in White Plains. I'm here tonight on behalf of Sabre Dobbsbury LLC. Mark Berger was unable to attend, but he asked to have the letter that you did receive read into the record. So, dear Mayor Connett, Deputy Mayor Goleo, Trustee Cassell, Trustee Corrales, Trustee Taylor, Trustee Rosillo, and Trustee Sullivan, we have become aware that the Village of Dobbsbury is proposing to change the name of Livingstone Avenue. After years of work to obtain approvals and fight and appeal, after leasing the complex to tenants who canceled and replacing those tenants through more hard work, after 2.5 years of construction and making off-site improvements for the benefit of the residents of Dobbsbury, we are struggling to comprehend why Dobbsbury would undertake such an unnecessary change. Rivertown Square is a new development with addresses assigned by the Village of Dobbsbury. These new tenants at Rivertown Square have gone to great measures to protect these addresses for public recognition and through extensive marketing plans. Google and GPS take an unbelievable amount of time to recalibrate established routes and directions, and the change can take a very long time for the entities and others to recognize new addresses. Please consider that this will cause a significant interruption in traffic, business, and income to our tenants. In addition to the interruption of business for tenants, I have concerns over safety. Both fire alarm and security companies have been provided with these addresses for 911 purposes, and without established GPS addresses, this could cause delays in response time. This potential delay could create safety problems, not just for retail businesses, but also a child care center at Rivertown Square and the hotel. We also have 25 to 30 utility account service addresses that will need to be amended. Gas and electric meters, as well as phone lines, are directly tied to the service addresses. This is not as simple as changing account information. The utility providers' databases are not set up to edit service protection and services. We respectfully ask to keep the name as Livingstone Avenue for the above-mentioned reasons. There is no benefit to changing the name when weighed against the potential and real negatives. Thank you for your consideration, and that's signed by Martin Berger, who is a managing member of Sabre Duxbury LLC. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I think confirm that we are in receipt of that letter from Sabre. Thank you. Okay, so thank you for all your oh, Patty, did you want to?
No, I didn't want
Okay. Well, thank you for all your comments. We heard a little bit on both sides here. So, well, Karina, I think you've been first here, just to be fair to everybody else.
I just wanted to say, like, I had some additional information to what all was said.
Can you just go up to the mic, Karina?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just if you could keep it really quick, Karina.
Yes.
And you can certainly submit some more information to us as well.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I have spoken with every business on Livingstone Avenue, and they are 100% in favor of changing this address, the street name. They have indicated that whatever the village wants to do, they would go along with, including, excuse me, new businesses that are in Rivertown Square who are continually having missed deliveries, interviewees going to the wrong location. There's been several people on my street who've taken the time out of their day to drive people to interviews, you know, over at Rivertown Square. You know, I have a letter here.
Okay, Karina, you know,
Oh,
I think we get it. I mean,
I have a letter here from someone who's lived on Livingstone Street for over 70 years, and they say they've had problems with this.
Have you submitted that for the record yet?
No, but I can.
Yeah, if you could present that to Liz Dreeper, Village Clerk, and she'll make sure that that gets distributed to the board as part of the record, and we'll have that in the package.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Karina.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all of your comments. I think at this point, I'll just, if anybody from the board would like to weigh in on this at this point.
I think to me, the most important thing is the EMS problem. I mean, God forbid a life is lost or severely, you know, injured because of going to the wrong place. So inconveniencing of packages and mailing and deliveries is one thing, but to have EMS or emergency vehicles going to the wrong address is much more serious, and I think we have to take a really hard look at that for that reason.
I also think on that point, it puts us on, the complaints so far put us on notice that there's confusion and issues, and, you know, knock on wood, we didn't hear anything from this EMS incident, but if they got there too late, and that could expose the village to liability, because we had noticed something that we didn't change. And I'm not really understanding the detriment to the new businesses, other than they have to update their new address, and it seems to me that Chauncey Square businesses all signed the petition, wanting a change, and they would be the most impacted, having been there so long, by the change. So I'm not really understanding the complex argument as to why we shouldn't change it. Somebody else wants to explain it, maybe.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, the EMS thing, I know there's, you've got a lot of local people who work for the volunteer places, and they might be aware of the issue of the names, but we're often supplied by outside emergency vehicles as well, and they're not. So, you know, one little typo, one little misdirection, I don't, you know, if there's some way that we can ease the process with changing the name, maybe having a dual name for a certain amount, I don't know, maybe we can look into some way of easing the name change for the GPS and, you know, all the practical issues involved with that. But I do think, as I had said the last time this Karina came up, I am on Ogden Place, and we have the issue with Ogden Avenue, and I get packages, et cetera, but it's right around the corner. So it's very easy to misdirect. It's very easy for me to, you know, drop something off to my neighbor around the street. But with Livingstone and Livingstone, that's on completely opposite sides of the village, and to get to either one, you've got to go through Ashford Avenue. And when it comes to emergency villages, we all know what Ashford Avenue looks like during rush hour. So I think for the safety of the village, you know, more so than the inconvenience of the packages, but at this point, I'm looking at, I think it should be changed.
I obviously think the emergency services is of an utmost priority, but I do think having 18-wheeler trucks and 44 packages or 23 packages, that's more than just, you know, once a week having a missed package. That's a big inconvenience and annoyance, especially for people that live busy lives, as most residents in Dallas Square do. So think that definitely has to be factored in. I live on Ashford and I don't hear 18-wheelers going by at 7 o'clock in the morning, so I mean, I don't think you want that on residential streets either.
Larry, any?
No, I mean, I think I've listened to, from both sides. I guess one thing we did we get some input, I think, from the fire department and from the police department? Do we have?
I think we've gotten some, yes and no. I think we've gotten some informal discussion, but we haven't gotten something formal, and I would recommend that would be something we should do, is get a formal opinion from the fire department, the police department, and EMS. That would, I think, be something we should, part of the due diligence. Darius, you had spoken, I think, to the police, the fire chief, and maybe to help
I did speak
Larry's
to the
point here.
police chief yesterday. He was not aware of any issues going back. The fire chief indicated that they know all the addresses. Fire chief indicated they know all the addresses too, but he didn't think he thought it would help that if it was changed. And I did speak to Joe Rooney last night while I was home late.
Joe Rooney is EMS.
He's a lieutenant in the EMS for the Village of Dobbs Ferry Ambulance Corps. He was not aware of the incident of, I guess last week, whenever it was. I was going to email him, actually the email that Nicole sent on it, and he was going to look into it. I don't know if it was a Village of Dobbs Ferry EMS, and he said it wouldn't be a bad idea, but again, he indicated they do know the addresses and usually work with the police also. But again, he was not against the change and thought it could help.
One concern that when thinking this through, though, and I think it's a compelling argument to change for the deliveries and the safety part of it. But what happens if you change the name and the GPS systems haven't changed, or haven't caught up? So you have an incident on newly named Stone Street. There's an active, whether it's an EMS issue or serious police issue, the call goes out, and Stone Street's not on any GPS yet. We don't know if it's on any GPS, and now they can't respond. How does that work? Do we know how that works when you change the street? How quickly does it get onto Google Maps, and what issues? I'm just saying, the public safety issue I get, but what happens if you change the street and the cops don't know the name of the new street and it's not in the system?
I could just add to that, because I actually went online to tell Google that
If you're gonna speak, you need to go to the mic.
Sorry. I went online when Danforth Avenue opened, and me personally physically told Google Maps that Danforth Avenue was open because it was creating a lot of, chaos at the traffic circle. And within a day, they had changed the map. So I didn't check it instantly to see how long it took, but it definitely does. It is instantaneous. They do take information from
I think
I think it's just things that we have to look at.
You need to be really, really careful. Make sure
Yeah,
you're
this has to be
clear about that.
researched a little bit more
What
thoroughly.
are we
Kinda like
looking at-
Wikipedia.
What are we looking at more to evaluate? Like, what's the next steps? And if we're gonna table it to evaluate stuff, what are we evaluating?
You asking me? Okay,
No,
well,
I think
here's
Vic
what
said
I
that
think we
we
should
need to
evaluate. Go
evaluate.
ahead. You want to try?
No, I'm saying EMS, and I think the safety issues come first and foremost before, deliveries, but I think deliveries to the neighborhood are a definite nuisance. So we have to figure out a balance on, are we gonna create more havoc by changing the name or less long-term? I would assume it would be less long-term, but it could be a lot more in the short term. And I think it really needs to hear from the fire, police, and EMS. That's the most critical component.
I would add to that just a checklist to make sure, in terms of GPS and mapping systems, that we're doing what we would need to do. And so the village has a checklist, if we're gonna do this, to make sure that it's done in a way that's gonna make the change as efficient as possible. I'm inclined to support this, subject to us being able to make sure, kind of check those boxes, if you will, as Vic laid out, plus the idea that we have a checklist to do it effectively.
Agreed.
Vinnie?
I think a checklist is a great idea, because if we're going to do it, I think we have to do it the right way. And also, if we're going to have a new name, we have to figure out what that new name is going to be and, implement it, so.
So the checklist will take not a whole lot of time to put together, but it's definitely getting confirmation from the public safety departments, police, fire, EMS, as well as getting some official confirmation from what's involved in the GPS process of changing the street, so that the point at which we change it, we know it's there, it's on the maps, and all of the police agencies and every agency you could possibly think of is gonna recognize that if they type it in. So, according to Karina, that's easy, but let's make sure, okay? And that we could probably have done by the next time we meet.
I don't know why we couldn't.
So, as far as the name, Lee, you mentioned, is it cast in stone? No, I don't think so.
Etched in stone.
Stone, actually, Gilardi Way did come up. That's a name that I've actually, I think either Donna Cassell Way, I thought Abby Canet Way. I can think of a lot of females. Joy Haber Way. You know, we could go around this room. There's a lot of great well, are we all famous? Are they all famous? You
Gene
guys all
Fritz
famous?
was
Yeah,
one
probably,
proposed to
pretty
us.
much. But yeah, sure. I think we can take. I don't know if is the board. Do we love Stone Street? I don't even know.
I just
I
put
think
it
it's a
as
placeholder.
It was a placeholder, okay? It's a placeholder, so we really don't, and definitely will send letters to the mayor's office, but copy all the rest of the trustees too on the emails, if you got an idea of a name that you might like to have the board consider.
Just kind of follow clarification.
Yeah, surely, go on.
Yes, I know that Karina, I think your name is? Karina. Yes, she just talked about Danforth, and I wasn't quite sure of the point, but I just want to say that Danforth has been a street there forever, so it's part of that establishment, and that could be why that it's always been on Google Maps. So the fact that it just got updated with the opening of it, I think she said, is that what she was trying to say? I'm not quite sure of the point. That Danforth is long established street, but like you said, and that was sort of like my point, that if you do change it to a whole new name, it could pose and open up doors for other issues that
Yeah.
could arise, and that was my point about it.
Yeah, no, definitely, that was
So
a good point, I think you made.
Danforth is a good comparison to check the Google map. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for everybody's comments. So I think it sounds like, you know, the sense is here, the board is leaning towards a name change, but wants to get a checklist and confirmation from the public safety departments, as well as the GPS process, to make sure we're absolutely certain about that. We will consider any reasonable names that people have that want to submit, and I think that we can get this all done by the next meeting. Larry, can I ask you to take a lead on that checklist?
Sure.
If you could do that?
Yeah.
Work with.
Yeah, I'll work
that'd be
with the
awesome.
village to do that.
Okay, great.
The staff.
And so I think my suggestion would be we adjourn this public hearing, or we keep it open, but we're gonna adjourn, right?
Sure.
And we'll be back here the next time we meet, which will be the next meeting in October. Okay?
And as you say, with the intent of making a decision.
And so, you know, come that night, you know, we'll have our, we'll have our stuff done. So if anybody, you know, has any more they want to say about this, you know, we'll still discuss it. You know, we won't, yeah, there'll still be time to discuss it. Okay, thanks, everybody. Good discussion and good open process here, right? Good. So at this time, I'll take a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor? Okay, great, that passes with 6 ayes. Thanks, everybody. Courtesy of the floor. Anybody here to address the board on any issue at all that we haven't discussed or we're gonna discuss, or, yes, sir?
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, trustees, my name is John Simons. I'm a former resident, and just to make an announcement that the Village of Dobbsbury Parks and Recreation is having a defensive driving class on October 21st, this month, in the firehouse. I've been doing it here probably for about 15 years. I lived on Ashford Avenue for about 15 years, and it's important to me. I was in the police department in Huxley for 10 years as a volunteer. So I'm just appealing to the village residents that have young drivers that want to take advantage of this course, because it covers a lot of different things, texting. And I think what attracts people to a village like this is the quality of life. Having lived here, as I say, 15 years, I'm now in Ardsley. Quality of life is terrific. However, new drivers, new laws, and that's what we discussed in the class. And years ago, the village used to pass out a brochure which would show the events for the year. But I guess for cost, they do that. So I just thought I'd like to announce that, and if anybody would want to attend the class, they would just contact the Parks and Recreation on Palisade Street at 693-0024, and we meet in the firehouse on the 21st from 10 to 4. Coffee and donuts.
Which firehouse?
Here on Main Street?
That's good, yeah. On Main Street. And anybody who's lived on, as I say, I lived on Ashford. In fact, I do some work for Judge Grant at 377. I live at 363. And let me tell you that, not that this is really relative, except for the fact that at 4:30, 5 o'clock, the cars come off the Swan River Parkway, and they have a year where there's no traffic coming over the bridge going west. The speed gets up to 40 to 60 miles an hour, between 40 and 60. And I remember living over there. I used to direct people across the street with baby carriages, come to stop traffic and say, hey. But overall, it's a great course. As I said, I've been doing it 20 years. In this village, I think, Mr. Mayor, I think we talked about this a few years ago at the Ferry Fest. I was at the table. But it's really, the laws change, and we kind of keep people up with it, with what's going on. The move over law, how people how to stop at a stop sign. It's mind-boggling. So that's what I like.
Well, John, thanks very much for that. Public service announcement here too is that this is a defensive driving course that sponsored by the Dobbs Ferry Parks and Recreation Department, which will be held. Can you give us that date again? What was the date?
October 21st.
On October 21st.
In the firehouse.
In the firehouse here on Main Street.
On Main Street.
And what time?
Well, 10 o'clock till 4.
10 o'clock a.m.
They would have to register at the rec department.
Okay.
On Palisade Street.
On Palisade Street. Okay, and I think.
693-0024.
Right, or call 693-0024, which is a number for the Recreation Department for additional information.
And you're all welcome on the board to come.
Great, thank you, John.
I just want, the rec department did send out a notice about this too.
Great.
So please send an email to the
And
residents.
one last thing, for people, as you said, we used to be in the Embassy Club, where we teach and everything, or instruct there. But when they come to the firehouse, there's free parking in the municipal lot outside.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to address the board persons to be heard? Mr. McLaughlin, yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. I just want to, I've been accused.
Address.
A lot of things.
Name and address, Bob.
I've been accused of saying I love it when I see something that I really like and appreciate. And I don't know if I can use that for an audit report. That might be stretching it a little bit, but I want to commend Jeff for the work he's done since he's got here, as you said, Mayor. A really terrific job. He's been a great guy to work with. Very patient, very thorough, and he knows the game very well. So he's really helped us out a lot. At the same time, it's also been, as you pointed out, and Lisa, teamwork, collaboration. I love that word. It sounds so musical. When you say it. Well, Charlene, you've done a great job pulling the staff together. The staff has done a good job to see what we can do things a little bit different. And Jeff, you know, with this is a new marketing company, and that's a difficult decision to move away from a vendor. But sometimes it's a good decision. Sometimes we need to do that to make sure we're on the right track and doing the right things. So I want to commend you for that. Kendra has gone, but Kendra's also done a terrific job for the village since coming in a very short time. I want to commend her for that. And Annalisa, good luck to you and best wishes. We hardly got to know you, but what I do know is you're a
Thank you, Bob. Patty, did you have your hand? You're going to be last, okay. More persons to be heard. Okay, Karina, wow, you're busy tonight.
I just, again, I'm Karina, Ream at 30 Livingston. I just wanted to give a public, very public thank you to the staff and workers at DPW. I notified them last week of an issue with the sidewalk that I had noticed, and they were out there within 2 days and had it repaired, and I just wanted to say thank you very much. I know they do so much for the village, and the responsiveness was incredible, and I really appreciate them going out and taking care of that in short order. Thank you.
Wow, that's really nice. That really means a lot to the workers. Karina, thank you very much. It's great to hear really good positive feedback. They do a great job. Thank you. Okay, Lee.
Good evening again. Lee Constantine, I just want to thank Annalisa for her contribution to the village. She was always well prepared to discuss and delve into a topic. She did not hesitate to question and challenge a presenter in order to elicit information to the public and increase her knowledge on a matter. So when it came time to vote on a subject, whether it was for or against a matter, I was always confident that she had thoroughly listened and considered all sides. She exemplified leadership and independence in her thoughts and ideas, and most of all, she gave a voice to the people. I wish her all the best. Thank you.
That's nice, Lee. Thank you. Okay, Patty. And we won't let anyone go after you.
Patty Steinstetter, 329 Broadway, Dobbs Ferry. Three things tonight. First, I think it might be good to look at different names. I spoke with a young man in town who's very good friends with the mayor's son, with my son, and he didn't realize there wasn't an R on the end of the street. He thought it sounded really great. Stoner Avenue, I don't know.
Oh.
Okay, I got it, yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. So the other two things, this Saturday, I think everybody probably knows about it because I've mentioned it before, we have the Festa. I think we're going to do well. The mayor's doing a great job so far. I'm watching that weather kind of ebb back and forth, but every day, every weather forecast says Saturday will be good. So we're counting on that, which will be great. We've got, I was actually worried this year that we weren't going to get the sign up that we had in previous years, but we're over 120 already. Wow. And we've got tons of people calling, saying, you know, can they still sign up? So I think we might set a new record, which would be terrific because we could use the revenue. I know that's something that Jeff concerns himself with too. And the last is on Sunday at Mercy College. The Broadway Corridor Committee is having a meeting with the consultants, Nelson Nygaard, who are going to be presenting some of the ideas that they have come up with and feedback that they've gotten from people who have responded about the changes to Broadway from Sleepy Hollow to Hastings. And this is a workshop. This is everyone can talk, everyone can participate. So we're hoping that lots of people who we watch on Facebook talking about the concerns with people speeding and all that, I think this is where they should come and voice their opinion. It's necessary to get our consultants to understand what the real issues in the community are. So thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing you all on both Saturday and Sunday. Because you guys are all invited to both of them, right?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the Route 9 thing. As Patty said, this is a very important project. It's involving 5 villages, and for those who are concerned about the traffic on Broadway, et cetera, please, please come. It's a very important event, and we need the input from the residents.
Great, thanks, Patty. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Okay, moving on to matters requiring action. Action item number 1 is to consider a motion to accept the financial statements for fiscal year ending May 31, 2017, and the communication of internal control matters as identified in the audit to those charged with governance and management May 31, 2017. Is there a motion to accept the financial statements as presented? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Golio, discussion? All in favor? And that passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 2 is to consider a motion to approve audits number 1 and 2 for October 2017 as recommended by the village treasurer. Any change in this recommendation, Jeff? You're still good? Okay, then I'll take a motion to approve the audits 1 and 2 as recommended by the village treasurer. This is for October 17. Is there a motion? Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee Taylor, discussion? All in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 3, consider a motion to award the bid for parking lot improvements to the lowest responsible bidder, McNamee Construction Corporation, for an amount of $674,000 as recommended by Village Administrator Charlene Indelicato. We've had a lot of talk about this. We've talked about it in public, and we've done a lot of work on this. Anything you want to add on this at all, Charlene?
No, hopefully we can get the contract done. Darius has provided the outline of it, and as soon as we get the contract done and get all the bonds and insurance, we're going straight to work. So hopefully it'll be done before the winter.
We're done with the contract. I gave it to Paul, so he'll get it signed up. If it's approved tonight, we'll have to send a letter out to the contractor that they've been awarded the bid. They can get their bonds, and maybe they can start Monday.
That's great.
That's awesome, and just, go ahead, sorry.
That's aggressive?
That's aggressive, because they have to have their insurance and bonds.
And insurance and bonds.
Right.
Tuesday.
And we have to get something.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Okay.
All right, well, full speed ahead, that's great. I just add, this is, we've presented this, it's been, we've talked about it here a lot. The mayor's newsletter had a lot, little maps and stuff. This is 90 new spaces. Great for downtown businesses, great for downtown residents. This will really be of benefit for a lot of reasons. Give the village a lot of flexibility going forward to, address parking issues in other parts of town. It's revenue positive from day one, which is cool. But I also I did get a couple letters from people that live in the area of Village Green and 99 Cedar down in that area, expressing some, generally, really favorable about the plan, but wanting to make sure that it was being designed properly and professionally, and there would be proper screening. And I've answered all those, and I'll look for more if there are, but just want to assure everybody that's in that area, that lives that part of town. First of all, if you've lived there for any period of time, you know what it used to look like when the old DPW was there, and it was, wow, it's really made a lot of improvements since then. But this new design is going to make that area look better than it's ever looked. There will be some trees that need to come down, but there will be new plantings that will go in, so every consideration will be given within reason to make that a really much nicer area than it is today. So I think it's going to be aesthetically a total improvement for the area down there from what it looks like today. Yeah. And you can say, well, that's not saying much, but it's going to look really good when this is done.
Yeah, I'll try to get rendering.
Yeah, maybe we've shown the schematic, maybe if we can get a rendering of the plantings, and, that's...
Yeah, I'll try to get that on.
So, okay. Any other comments or concerns from the village board on this? Then, okay, then I'll take a motion to award the bid for the parking lot improvements to McNamee Construction Corp. As recommended by the village administrator. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Sullivan. Discussion, all in favor? Awesome, passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 4 is to consider motion to authorize the closing of Cedar and Main Streets on Tuesday, October 31, 2017, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the Recreation Department Halloween event. This is a traditional event that just seems to get more and more people every year, lots and lots of kids. It's really, really great. All the public safety departments are aware of it. It's a big deal. We're all prepared for it. It's a great thing. Any issues or comments from the board or concerns on this one? Okay, then I'll take a motion to authorize the closing of Cedar Street, October 31st. That's Cedar and Main, actually, October 31st, from 3 to 6:30 p.m. for the Recreation Department Halloween event. Is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, discussion. All in favor?
And just a note on that, Mayor, they say the actual event will take place from 4 to 6. Probably the closing down of the streets, just to clear the streets, starts at 3.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Vic. And final matter requiring action is number 5, and that's to consider a motion to schedule a public hearing on October 24, 2017, to amend Village Code Section 290-28 on-street parking restrictions, to add parking restrictions on Clinton Avenue. You know, we kicked this around a little bit. Don, I think the traffic committee has looked at this, the police department has looked at this, Charlene, you've looked at this, and
Yes.
I don't know if you want
The
to,
chief of going around talking to everybody.
the residents on Clinton,
residents,
Master School is, have we,
It doesn't really affect the masters.
it doesn't, okay.
So what are the restrictions? Can
Good question. You have to come to find out.
Yes, we'll hear about it at the public hearing.
The restrictions are parking not, so it doesn't block a driveway, basically that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of residents that have
Yeah.
a lot of difficulty getting out of
Yeah,
the
there's a
driveway.
blind
'cause-
spot.
Yeah, there's a blind spot.
Got it.
And before the public hearing, that will be sort of delineated and diagram for you.
Great, and is there any way to notice this in a way with some language that kind of explains what the, is there a way to do that in so many words, or?
Yeah, there's gonna, in the public
Yeah.
notice, there will be.
Okay, good, so people that read it will know, okay, kind of get it, so people
Yeah,
aren't gonna
I-
like go, oh, great,
I
they're
believe Liz
reducing all
and
parking
the chief
on.
are working on it.
Great, thanks, Liz, great. Okay, then I'll consider a motion to schedule the public hearing. This will be for October 24, 2017, at 7:30 PM here at Village Hall. And this will be to consider amendments to Village Code Section 290-20 on-street parking restrictions, to add parking restrictions on Clinton Avenue. This will be duly noted, as well as a brief description as to what the village board will be considering specifically. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second trustee Golio, discussion, all in favor? Passes with 6 ayes. Okay, for the minutes, we have two regular meeting of Board of Trustees that we've got to adopt here. One is the September 12th meeting, and the other is the September 26th meeting. They were presented in your packets. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to look at that. So, let's start with September 12th. Anybody have any revisions or modifications to that? If not, then I'll take a motion to adopt the minutes for September 12th, 2017, regular Board of Trustees meeting. Is there a motion? Trustee Morcillo, second. Trustee Cassell, discussion, all in favor?
No, you weren't there, right?
Sorry? How many can vote on that?
4.
Four.
You and I were not
You
present.
guys weren't there.
We weren't here, so there's only
4.
4.
Four of us.
Okay. Darius, does that work?
Yeah, 4 is
Four,
fine.
4 still works, right?
The
Okay, so,
should be
motion.
Seconded by those who were here.
Yeah. So can I have a motion for those who, out of anybody who's there? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Sullivan, discussion, all in favor? And that passes with 4 ayes and 2 absent. And the second meeting is for the September 26, 2017, also a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. That was also in the packet. If there aren't any revisions or modifications, then I'll take a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for September 26, 2017, as presented. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Sullivan, discussion, all in favor? Great.
5 ayes.
I can't vote on this.
You can't, okay, great, you were out, that's right.
5 ayes.
Okay. All in favor?
5 ayes.
That passes with 5 ayes and 1 absent. Okay, so that takes us through matters requiring action. I don't think any correspondence and claims to present tonight. So I'll just look down the rows here each way, see if trustees have any updates or reports. Nicole, you good? Larry, good?
I was just gonna
You're
talk
good?
about Route 9, but.
Patty did that
I
for
did
you?
so we're
Okay,
fine.
Vinnie?
I'm good.
Awesome. Dick, good?
The only thing I'll say, Mayor,
Yes.
I'll meet again, October 21st is the PTSA Pumpkin Fair at Springhurst. I think that's from 10 to 4, maybe, I don't know the exact time, but there's signs all over the village about that. That's a great fundraiser for the PTA.
Great, thanks for that, Nicole. Just one last thing, I would just want to make a public note. Last weekend, the Historical Society had a nice event. It was their regular board meeting, but they also were honoring Mary Donovan, who had led the Historical Society for so many years. Mary and her husband Herbert, who is quite a character and has quite a history himself too, are moving to Virginia, and the Historical Society gave them a really good send-off. I presented a proclamation to Mary. She got her day, which she really deserved. Mary was a great historian, did a great job maintaining the archives, and maintaining the history of Dobbs Ferry. I remember when we rededicated the Little White Church Cemetery, which was a huge project that we undertook that is such a great piece of historical property in Dobbs Ferry now. Mary gave a really great talk that just made that event so much more meaningful, and there were, some really good things to say about Mary. So I want to just publicly thank Mary Donovan for all she did for Dobbs Ferry and the role she played at the Historical Society, and we wish Mary and Herbert all the best of luck in the future. Okay, I think that's it. There being no further business, meeting is adjourned.